Ladies and gentlemen, let me begin by saying something that every single one of us knows, but we don't always want to admit. Setbacks are inevitable, but what's optional is staying down. Every setback, every failure, every rejection, every disappointment isn't the end of your story. It's the setup for your greatest comeback. Today, I want to share with you 10 powerful strategies that can help you rise from any fall and transform your setbacks into comebacks that define your legacy. One of the hardest things to do in life, especially when we're hurting, is to simply accept what is. We are naturally wired to resist pain, to avoid discomfort, and to reject anything that threatens our sense of control or identity. So when setbacks happen, whether it's the loss of a job, a business failure, a betrayal, a breakup, or even a personal failure, we tend to either deny it, blame others, or pretend we're okay when deep down we're not. But let me say this, you can't fix what you won't face. Acceptance is not weakness. It's not giving up. It's not saying, this is okay. It's saying, this is what happened. I don't like it. I didn't want it. But this is my current reality. Think about it like this. Imagine you're driving and your GPS suddenly stops working. If you keep driving around pretending you know where you are, hoping you'll end up somewhere good, you'll probably end up even more lost. But if you stop, open the map, and say, okay, this is where I am, only then can you figure out how to get to where you want to go. It's the same with setbacks. You have to own your location before you can change your direction. Some people stay stuck in denial for years. They waste time blaming the economy, their family, the system, the timing, or even themselves to the point of self-hate. But blame doesn't heal. Denial doesn't solve. Suppression doesn't set you free. What sets you free is the courage to say, yes, I failed. Yes, I lost something important. Yes, life hit me hard. Yes, this hurts. But also, yes, I'm still here, and I'm ready to rise. There is power in truth. Because when you accept what is, you stop wasting energy fighting the past and start investing that energy in building the future. You stop saying, this shouldn't have happened to me, and start asking, what can I do from here? And remember this, acceptance doesn't mean staying in your situation. It means you're no longer running from it. You're no longer a victim of it. You're looking it in the face and saying, you're real. But you won't define me. Accept the failure. Accept the heartbreak. Accept the detour. Accept the loss. Because when you do, you take back your power. And only after acceptance comes growth, clarity, and the first real step toward a comeback. One of the most natural and immediate reactions we have during a setback is this question. Why me? Why did this happen to me? Why now? Why like this? Why is life so unfair? And listen, I get it. When everything around you feels like it's falling apart, when your heart is broken, when your plans are shattered, it's easy, almost automatic, to spiral into the why. It feels like a search for justice. It feels like maybe, just maybe, if you understood why the pain came, it would hurt a little less. It feels like asking why will give you back some control. But here's the truth. Asking why won't heal you. Asking why won't move you forward. Because many times life won't give you an answer. The breakup happened. The business failed. The opportunity slipped through your fingers. You lost someone. You messed up. And no matter how many times you replay it in your mind, no matter how many nights you stay awake asking why, the answers may never satisfy you. They may never come at all. So instead of sitting in the ruins of what was and crying out for reasons, I challenge you to shift your mindset and ask a more powerful question. What now? This is the moment of transformation. The moment you shift from being a victim of circumstances to being the author of your next chapter. The moment you stop replaying the pain and start rewriting the plan. Let me tell you, every comeback in history didn't begin with understanding the past. It began with a decision in the present to shape the future. You may never fully understand why they left. You may never fully know why the company let you go. You may never understand why you failed after giving your everything. But what you can choose right here and now is to say, okay, that happened. I can't change it. But what can I do next? What now? Makes you responsible, not for what happened, but for what happens next. What now? Puts your hands back on the steering wheel. What now? Is the voice of growth, grit, and courage. Because life is not about avoiding setbacks. It's about responding to them with purpose. When life knocks you down, asking why will keep you on the ground, but asking what now will help you rise, stronger, wiser, and more determined than ever before. So the next time you're tempted to ask why me, pause and shift. Take a breath and ask, what now can I do with what I've learned? What now can I build with what's left? What now can I become because of this? That question doesn't just lead to a comeback. It becomes the first step of your transformation. You cannot make a comeback with the same mindset that broke you. Let that sink in. Setbacks may break your plans, but it's your mindset that determines whether they'll break you. If you come out of a failure thinking, I'm not good enough. If you walk away from rejection saying, I'll never make it. If you treat a loss as proof that you're not worthy, then the setback wins. Not because you fell down, but because you stayed down mentally. Listen to me carefully. A comeback is not just about what you do, it's about how you think. Your mindset is the soil from which your future will grow. If that soil is filled with fear, doubt, resentment, or bitterness, how can anything powerful grow from it? After a fall, the very first thing you must do before writing goals, before taking action, before creating a strategy, is to go inward and rebuild the belief system that drives you. Because guess what? You can be talented, but if you don't believe in your worth, you'll sabotage yourself. You can have big dreams, but if your inner voice constantly says you're a failure, you'll never take the risk. You can get opportunities, but if you see yourself as undeserving, you'll turn them down without even realizing it. So how do you rebuild your mindset? Start by replacing the lie with truth. That voice in your head saying, you always mess things up. It's lying to you. That thought whispering, you're not as good as them. It's not truth, it's fear. You must learn to catch, challenge, and change these thoughts. Speak to yourself the way you would to a friend who's hurting. You wouldn't tell them you're worthless. You'd say, you've got this. You're strong, you've made it through worse. Keep going. So why not speak the same way to yourself? Next, fill your mind with positive input. Read books that stretch your thinking. Watch videos that inspire belief. Surround yourself with people who speak possibility, not limitation. And perhaps most importantly, forgive yourself. Forgive yourself for the mistakes, the bad choices, the missed chances. Let go of the shame. You are allowed to begin again, not as punishment, but as proof that you're learning, evolving, and still moving. Let me remind you of this. You are not your failure. You are not your past. You are not what they said about you. You are not the opinion of someone who gave up on you. You are who you decide to become starting from this moment forward. Your comeback depends on your comeback mindset. If your mind believes you're done, you are. But if your mind believes this is only the beginning, you'll rise, and you'll rise with power, because a renewed mind creates a renewed life. Let me ask you something simple but profound. If you don't learn from your setback, was it really a setback, or was it just wasted pain? Every failure, every disappointment, every heartbreak carries within it something incredibly valuable, a lesson, a gift. But here's the truth most people miss. Lessons don't automatically reveal themselves. You have to search for them. You have to reflect. You have to be brutally honest with yourself. You see, when something goes wrong, our natural tendency is either to move on too quickly or to stay stuck in the pain, obsessing over the outcome. But neither of those responses leads to growth. What leads to growth is this: intentional reflection. Ask yourself, what really happened? What role did I play in this? Was it something I could have prepared for better? Were there red flags I ignored? What patterns do I see from past experiences? What truth have I been avoiding? Reflection is not about shaming yourself or beating yourself up. It's about owning your growth. It's about saying, if life gave me this hard moment, I'm going to squeeze every ounce of wisdom from it so that it wasn't in vain. Think about this. The greatest champions in sports, business, and life don't just train harder after a loss. They study the loss. They watch the replays. They dissect their decisions. They look at the mistakes and ask, what can I do differently next time? That's what creates long-term winners, not talent, not luck, but the discipline to reflect. Your setback, no matter how painful, is your teacher, and the question is, are you listening? Sometimes the lesson is practical. You learn you need better time management. You realize you need to speak up more. You discover the importance of financial planning. Other times the lesson is personal. You learn not to settle. You understand the power of boundaries. You finally see that your worth isn't tied to approval. And then, sometimes, the lesson is spiritual. You learn patience. You learn surrender. You learn to let go of control and trust the process. But no matter what form it takes, every lesson is a building block for your comeback. The more lessons you gather, the stronger your foundation becomes. The next time you step out wiser, sharper, stronger. So don't rush past pain. Pause, reflect, extract the wisdom, because if you learn from the fall, then the fall wasn't a failure. It was preparation once the storm passes. Once you've accepted the reality, shifted your mindset, and learned the lesson. It's time to do something bold, something powerful, something most people are too afraid to do again after they've been hurt. It's time to dream again, to set a new vision. You see, setbacks have a way of making your world smaller. You stop dreaming big because it feels safer to expect little. You stop planning because plans once failed. You stop hoping because hope once hurt. But I'm here to tell you, your future does not have to shrink to the size of your setback. Your comeback requires direction, and that direction begins with a new, clear, and courageous vision. Let me break it down like this. If you don't know where you're going, you'll keep repeating where you've been. The past becomes your loop until a vision becomes your map. After a setback, many people get stuck in survival mode. They wake up just trying to get through the day. They stop thinking long-term, but comebacks are never born in survival. They're born in strategy, in vision, in imagination. So how do you set a new vision? Start by asking, what do I really want now? What kind of life do I want to create going forward? What would success look like? Not just to the world, but to my soul. Who do I want to become after this? Close your eyes and imagine it. See the version of you who rose after the storm, the version of you who's confident again, working on that dream, building something meaningful, walking in peace, walking in purpose. That picture is not a fantasy, it's a possibility, but only if you define it. Commit to it, write it down, name it, break it into goals. Let it pull you forward when everything else tells you to stay where you are. And here's something important to remember. Your new vision doesn't have to look like your old one. Maybe your last dream broke. Maybe what you thought you wanted isn't what fits your heart anymore. That's okay. You're not meant to rebuild what fell. You're meant to build what's next. A comeback isn't about returning to who you used to be. It's about rising into who you were always meant to be. So allow yourself to start over, with a fresh mind, a wiser heart, and a bigger dream, because if you can see it and believe it, you can absolutely achieve it. So you've accepted your reality, you've asked the right questions, you've rebuilt your mindset, you've learned the lessons, and now you've cast a brand, new vision. But here's the truth that stops most people. That vision feels huge. It feels far away. It feels like a mountain standing between where you are and where you want to be. And that's when fear creeps in. Overthinking takes over. You start saying things like, I don't know where to begin. What if I fail again? It's just too much. But let me tell you a secret. You don't need to take a giant leap. You just need to take a small step, and then another and another. Tiny, consistent steps. That's the real comeback formula. Because progress isn't about doing everything. It's about doing something every day. Let me give you some examples. If your setback was financial, your tiny step might be creating a small savings plan or cutting one unnecessary expense. If you're healing from heartbreak, your step might be journaling your emotions or going on a short walk to clear your head. If you failed at a business, your step might be reading one chapter of a book on leadership or reaching out to one mentor. If your vision is to get back in shape, don't start with 2 hours at the gym. Start with a 10-minute walk. Why tiny steps? Because they remove resistance. They make movement feel doable. They create momentum, which is more powerful than motivation. See, motivation fades, but momentum, that feeling of I did something today, that builds confidence, that builds rhythm, that builds belief. Let me give you a real, world truth. Consistency beats intensity every single time. It's better to take one small step every day for 30 days than to go full force for 3 days and burn out. It's the compound effect. The idea that little actions, repeated daily, lead to massive results over time. Every time you take action, even a small one, you send a message to your brain. I'm moving forward. I'm not stuck. I'm in control. And that message, repeated again and again, begins to rewire your confidence and rebuild your identity. You no longer see yourself as the one who failed. You start seeing yourself as the one who's coming back, step by step, brick by brick, day by day. So don't wait for the perfect moment. Don't wait until you feel ready. Start where you are. Use what you have. Do what you can. Because the comeback doesn't happen all at once. It happens in the tiny steps you're willing to take consistently, even when no one's watching, even when it's hard, even when it feels slow. And one day, you'll look back and realize the mountain you thought was impossible was climbed one tiny step at a time. Let me be honest with you. No, one rises alone. You may think your comeback is a solo mission. You may tell yourself, I got this. I don't need anyone. But the truth is, your environment is shaping you every single day. Whether you realize it or not, the people around you are either pushing you forward or holding you back. Let me ask you, who are you listening to? Who are you spending time with? Who has your ear, your energy, your trust? Because during a comeback, you are fragile. You are rebuilding. You are healing. You are forming new beliefs about who you are and what you're capable of. And in that sacred space of growth, the wrong voices can crush you. They'll say things like, just accept it. You're not cut out for that. You're trying again, after all that. People like us don't do stuff like that. Even worse, some of them won't say a word. They'll roll their eyes. They'll avoid cheering for you. They'll disappear when you need encouragement, and that silence. It's just as heavy as the doubt, but empowering people, they do the opposite. They light you up. They speak life into your comeback. They remind you who you are when you forget. They see potential in your pain. They don't laugh at your dreams. They fuel them. These are the people who say, let's go. I believe in you. You've been through worse. You're built for this. Okay, so you failed. Learn and try again. Take the risk. I've got your back. And here's the key. You have to choose them intentionally. You may need to create distance from some people you love, at least for a while. You may need to say no to toxic conversations. You may need to walk away from certain friendships that feel familiar, but are secretly draining your power. Because when you're climbing back up, you can't afford dead weight. You need a tribe that matches your future, not your past. You need people who hold you accountable to the best version of yourself, not just the comfortable version of who you used to be. And if you can't find those people immediately, become that person for yourself. Be your own encourager. Be your own motivator. And eventually, like energy always does, you will attract what you radiate. But please remember, even the strongest leaders, the greatest champions, and the most successful people you admire today, they didn't get there alone. They had mentors, friends, coaches, believers. So during your comeback, ask yourself, who's helping me grow? Who's helping me believe again? Who's reminding me that I can rise? Because when you surround yourself with empowering people, you multiply your power. And with the right people around you, your comeback becomes not just possible, but unstoppable. Let's pause for a moment and be real. You can't carry the weight of the past and expect to rise into your future. You can't build a comeback while holding on to blame, shame, guilt, or bitterness like anchors tied to your soul. And that's where this key becomes not just important, but essential. You must forgive others, and perhaps even harder, forgive yourself. Let's start with forgiving others. You might have been betrayed. Maybe someone you trusted hurt you, abandoned you, lied to you, doubted you, or crushed your spirit at your most vulnerable moment. And what they did, it mattered. It wasn't right. But here's the deeper truth. Forgiveness isn't about them. It's about you. It's about choosing peace over poison. It's about refusing to let someone else's choices continue to define your emotional world. Because every time you replay the hurt, every time you hold onto resentment, you are giving space in your heart to the very person who broke it. You don't forgive because they deserve it. You forgive because you deserve to be free. Now let's talk about something even more difficult. Forgiving yourself. This might be the hardest part of the comeback journey. Why? Because deep down, we're often carrying things no one else can see. The regret of a wrong decision, the shame of a failed relationship, the guilt of wasting time or opportunities, the inner voice that whispers, "This was all your fault." But listen to me carefully. You are allowed to be human. You are allowed to make mistakes, to mess up, to fall short. That does not make you unworthy of a new beginning. It makes you real. You can't become the person you're meant to be while constantly punishing the person you used to be. So here's what I want you to say to yourself, out loud if you have to. I made mistakes, but I am not my mistakes. I've learned, I've grown, I'm not who I was. I choose to forgive myself because I deserve peace. Forgiveness is not a feeling. It's a decision. You may not feel ready. You may not feel strong. But when you make the decision to forgive, again and again, it begins to heal the cracks in your heart, and healing creates space for growth. Forgiveness clears the path for freedom. It makes room for new dreams, new opportunities, new relationships, and a new identity. Because in the end, you cannot carry yesterday's pain into tomorrow's victory. Let it go not because you're weak, but because you are finally strong enough to move on. Let's get something straight right now. Your comeback isn't just about skill. It's not just about strategy. It's about something deeper. Something stronger, something harder to teach but essential to develop. It's called grit. So what is grit? Grit is that inner fire that keeps burning even when the world throws water on your dreams. It's persistence in the face of pain, discipline in the face of distraction, and heart when everything around you says to give up. Grit is what keeps you moving forward when the applause stops. It's what keeps you waking up early when nobody's watching. It's what tells you, try again, even when failure slapped you in the face last time. And here's the hard truth. Comebacks are not comfortable. They're not glamorous. They're not made of motivational quotes and wishful thinking. They're made of long nights, tough choices, and raw resilience. There will be days when nothing seems to be working, when the results don't show, when the people around you still doubt you, when your own mind whispers, "Why bother?" And it is in those exact moments where grit becomes your greatest weapon. Because grit says, I don't care how slow it feels. I'm still moving. I don't care how many times I've been rejected. I'm still trying. I don't care how tired I am. I'm not done yet. Let me make this personal. Every person who has ever made a legendary comeback had grit. They didn't always have the best tools, the best support, or the clearest plan, but they had the willingness to fight through fear, fatigue, and failure. They didn't wait for inspiration. They didn't wait for motivation. They kept showing up, especially on the days they didn't feel like it, because they understood something powerful. Motivation might get you started, but grit is what gets you across the finish line. And grit is not something you're born with. It's something you build through discipline, through hardship, and through the decision to never quit. You build it every time you get back up. You build it when you finish what you start. You build it when you face rejection and keep moving. You build it when you silence excuses and take responsibility. So ask yourself, am I willing to keep going when it's not fun? Am I committed to my comeback, even if it takes longer than I thought? Do I have the grit to become the version of myself I keep dreaming about? Because in the end, talent can get attention. Luck can give you a start. But grit is what makes the comeback real. And once you've developed unshakable grit, the world has no choice but to watch you rise. Let me tell you something that most people forget on their path to a comeback. Every step forward matters. Every win, no matter how small, is worth celebrating. Because when you've come from a place of pain, when you've rebuilt yourself from failure, heartbreak, or loss, when you've cried behind closed doors and stood up anyway, you owe it to yourself to honor your progress. See, we live in a world that celebrates only the big moments, the promotion, the trophy, the $1 million deal, the transformation picture, the success story that goes viral. But what that world doesn't see, what you must learn to celebrate, are the small, quiet, powerful victories along the way. The day you got out of bed even though your soul was tired. The moment you chose not to respond in anger. The one time you said, I deserve better. The first dollar earned after rebuilding. The apology you finally gave or received, the boundaries you finally set, the habit you stuck with for a week, then 2, then a month. Those are wins. Those are huge. Those are what comebacks are made of. And if you wait until the big success to celebrate yourself, you'll miss the miracle of how far you've already come. Let me ask you something. When was the last time you acknowledged yourself? When was the last time you said, I'm proud of me, without needing validation from anyone else? When was the last time you looked in the mirror and said, you're doing better than you think? Because celebration is not about ego, it's about energy. It's what recharges you for the next mile of the journey. It's how you teach your brain to associate effort with reward. It's how you build confidence layer by layer. And here's something beautiful. The more you celebrate small wins, the faster you grow. Why? Because it creates momentum. It builds belief. It rewires your identity from someone trying to someone winning. When you celebrate, you say to yourself, I'm not where I want to be yet, but look how far I've come. I may not be perfect, but I'm showing up. I'm proud of my growth, even if no one claps for it. So go ahead, clap for yourself. Take a pause and smile at your effort. Mark your milestones, write them down. Say thank you to the version of you who didn't quit. Because when you learn to celebrate every win, you make the journey joyful, not just the destination. And joy, my friend, is what makes the comeback worth it.